University School of Medicine, Dr. Gaipov will talk about peer review of scientific articles. And to be or not to be. Okay, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yes, it is like some philosophical word to be or not to be, because we still have some struggling to be reviewer and some young generations. Sometimes say, I don't have time. I'm not expert. So today I want to share my experience to be reviewer or not to be reviewer for the scientist, even especially for young people, for young scientists. So I just want to introduce myself. So as I started my extensive review from 2012, and even has some best reviewer in 2012. So my peak of review was in 2017, 18. So as you can see, of course, the numbers are very old. I have reviewed more than 300 papers and got several recognition from the Elsevier, from the Scope, from the Web of Science. And if you remember, before we have also Publons, which is now inside the Web of Science. So also I was, each year I get some recognition like top reviewer in cross-field, in clinical medicine, in multidisciplinary, and I was reviewer of the around 40 different journals, including regional and high impact journals. But my good experience was during my editorial internship. So in our nephrology society, International Society of Nephrology, each year, each couple of years, they announce internship and fellowship positions. So it was my great opportunity, chance to be involved in editorial internship during the 2021 and 23. I really gained a lot of experience in top one journal in nephrology, which, as you can see, top 3 in kidney transplantation and top 6. So it's this journal is the top 10 in nephrology, and together with my peers from different part of the world, we were involved in fellowship internship program, and I also received a lot of experience as a reviewer, as an editor, to be in this internship. So what's the reviewer? So because all we are scientists, researchers, and we are publishing many papers, and we usually get some response from reviewers. Who are the reviewers? They are not paid person. They are not your brother. Yeah, they are not your relative or someone. So reviewer is like voluntary work. So because if we have reviewed our work, which significantly improved our work and it published it, so it's because the reviewers give very good feedback. So there is a law of the reciprocity. So we should also give back. So we should have honest critical thinking. So what can we? So we can return of investment. So we can say return of investment. So we will have privileged access to the knowledge and the manageable time. It's very important to be a reviewer. So just imagine we have submitted the work, which is like raw research, especially if you are young researcher, you don't know what's good, which part of your research paper is weak. So it's like undefined data, initial hypothesis, potential bias we may have. But when you submit your paper, peer review process starts. So independent assessment experts will, or different level of experts will review your paper. They will control the quality of your paper. They will collaborate with you, dialogue with the revisions, a minor revision or major revision. Then, as soon as you improve everything, your work going to be established knowledge. You will have your better version of your last submitted paper. So that's why reviewer is very important, because if we don't grow a young generation of reviewers in the future, we will have many issues with reviewing. So what gives review for the young generation? So they give you many soft skills. So they will give you improving the skill of review scientific articles. You will be joined the editorial board and council. So it will give experience in avoiding standard and methodological errors, because you already joined this review process and you know what kind of tips you have to do. you will get experience in writing article properly, because as soon as you start to review many different articles, you will see the weakness. You can suggest the strength. So when you are writing your own paper, that really significantly help you to do that. You will have gradual improvement in generating ideas and hypotheses, because when you're reviewing, usually you review the paper which is in your field of the interest, which is in the field of your expertise. So you will have a lot of idea. You will look at the newest methodology, so you can compare with your own. So it will give another hypothesis for you. And then very important thing is you will get the skills to writing and submitting grant application, because as a reviewer, you know what's the weak point, what's the weak section of this grant. So it will significantly improve your writing skills in grant application. So the most important advantage of to be a reviewer is the time, because you will have access early to the any research which is going to be published in the next 6 months or 3 months, maybe, or 1 year. So you will be now this new brand, last breaking clinical trial or methodology more early than others. It's very important. So that's why the first advantage. The second advantage is the self-editing loop. I already told about that. So you identify structural flaw, unclear arguments, and poor data presentation and other works. And you will learn exactly what editors and reviewers typically target for rejection, because you are not only a reviewer. When editor assign one young reviewer, they usually combine with a different level of high experienced reviewers, because of that you can see also comments of the other reviewer, and you can compare their critique with yours. So then you will think, yes, this reviewer is could make comments in this part I didn't do. So you can compare your review with others. That significantly improve your skills. And of course, you preemptively fix the exact issue in your own research. That's why to be reviewer is significantly improve your self editing. The next advantage is the professional reputation. Of course, you will put your name as a reviewer in the journal. I usually do that. So beginning from last 10 year, I put many journals because I was in the reviewer. Also, I put my name as an editorial board member, because as soon as you are doing very good review, usually this journal, for example, high level journal, can invite you to join the editorial board. Probably you will be assigned as a editor in associate editor, co-editor, even editor-in-chief. So that's why it's very important. So also you will get editorial report. Consistently delivering timely through reviewer puts you directly on the editor's radar for future board invitations, as I told. Probably you will spend in the first time maybe 4 hours, maybe 5 hours, even half day. Then by the ways, by the weeks, you will be improve your skills, and your editorial fast. Your editorial work can be done in 30 minutes. And then it's very important when you submit your own manuscript. An editor who knows as you are a reliable reviewer, they may assign a faster handling or more sympathetic editor. Of course, we should not wait for that, but sometimes it happens. Of course, this is the unpaid work, so nobody pay usually, but you will get many different professional capitals. So peer review is not paid in dollars, but paid in an exclusive academic currency. So what's the academic currency? So it's verified international standard for grant approvals, tenure track differentiation, invitation to join editorial board, improved handling of your own submitted papers, because this is the capital. This is your soft skills, your hard skills. So you will have experience, very good skill on the editorial process. As soon as people decided to be reviewer, they have many questions. So there is like 7 questions they usually doubt before starting the review. The first is, I have too little experience to be a good reviewer. Of course, nobody have experience. They usually gain experience step by step. So usually postdocs and early career researchers, they are often best reviewer, because they try to do reading manuscript from the beginning to the end, and most of the young reviewers, they're very good. I can give many tens of hundreds of examples from my PhD students, from my research assistants, master students. So they started to review 3-4 years ago. Now they are very experienced review. Sometimes I don't send them people because they reject. They have a lot of comments because they are now very experienced review. The second question, I need to understand the entire study. No, there will be many type of reviewers. Of course, knowing the research methodology, biostatistics is very good. But again, among the physicians, there might be a physician who is not knowledgeable in the biostatistics, but he can comment in different part. So based on your expertise, you can comment in different parts. So you don't need to understand the entire study. Someone can say, I am not good at criticizing. No, review, that doesn't mean you have to criticize. You need to educate and suggest. You should not destroy the whole manuscript. This is the gift of constructive input to make this science better. Another for question is, if I don't reject, it will be stuck doing revisions. No, the resubmission are an opportunity, because when you see the second revision, it will be easy because you already did a lot of work and already authors, they come back with the improvements. And also when you see the resubmission, you can read your peers, your another reviewers' comments, and then you can compare your comments. The another doubt is, I will miss a critical flaw and look bad. No, again, you are part of the team. You are not working alone. And sometimes you say, I know the author, so I can't review. Yeah, or if you have conflict of interest, you have to reject. I mean, you have to decline the review. But if you can be fair, please proceed to review. There is no issue, because you will help your friend, your colleagues to improve its manuscript. And the last comment can be like, it only benefits authors. No, it's a massive career acceleration also for you, and all credits that you will receive from your review, I already told. Because you are not alone, and it is a team. Probably usually editors, they assign many reviewers. For example, they know someone who is good in methodology, that might be you. They assign someone who is good in the statistical analysis, and also the final verdict will be done by the deputy editor or from the editor. So you are not alone. So you are the part of the team. So you can do your job. So again, that's just the repetition of our accelerator for the peer review. What we will gain if we do review: we improve our own writing. We have access the vanguard, so keep up with latest thinking, methods, and ideas before they are publishing. So you will boost your career, showcase your expertise on platforms like Clarivate, Publons, earning demonstrated merit of promotion. You will build your own network. You will have meet with any editors, co-editors, and reviewers. And of course, you defend scientific integrity. So let's go to some practical part of this presentation, how to review. So as you know, we have different type of review. So single blind review, double blind review, open review. So what's the meaning of single blind review? Who knows? Reviewer knows the authors, but authors, they don't know about reviewer. Double blind review, nobody knows each other. So this is the most frequent type of double rebind. Also, it's very important for the new journals. And then, so there is nobody knows who is who. And also there is open reviews. They also frequently implemented by the many journals. So everyone knows who is the reviewer and who is the authors. So what's the review workflow? The first, invitation, you usually receive invitation. The second, you have to accept or not accept the invitation. I will also let you know when we should accept, when we should decline the review. As soon as you accept, then we will go to the step 2, is the initial pass. It's like just a very quick review. Then we can make more deep dive into the different sections. And then as soon as we do that, we have to synthesize our comments, and then we should send our comments to the editor. So as soon as we receive invitation for review, so we should ask, do I have sufficient familiarity with the core subject. And also, you can accept many if you have at least have one competency in one part of the, okay, you have little bit expertise, you can agree. Then the time, do you have really time to do that? Because there is a deadline. Because it's not good if we accept, then we don't answer. Yes, we can, we have time, then proceed to is this free of competing interest or close, personal, professional relationship. So this is the question. If you are certainly can give the comment, agree. But if you really cannot give the comment because of conflict of interest, then please just decline. So otherwise you can accept and so on. And the second step is the superficial overview. So it also steps in two steps. So what I usually do, I look at the abstract title. So I read continuously without making groundwork. I just screening the entire manuscript. So I usually did not go inside. I just look at the general. So I want to have general idea about the study. Then you can zoom in. Then you can look at the detailed section by section synthesis assessment. And then you can look at the numbers, paragraph, and so on. So in the next stage. So what is the heat map for screening? So title. It's very important to have very attractive title. The abstract. So does the title captures the keywords? Does the abstract match the data? The methods is very important. Are they valid, reproducible, and ethically sound? Is the study adequately powered? And then results, and then figure and tables discussion. So I will stop for each other in next slide. So the title is supposed to be must accurately reflect the content and allow comprehensive without reading the full article. Because sometimes people suggest like general title, for example, chronic kidney disease, but we don't know what about the article. So the title is supposed to be reflect at least the abstract. They should reflect. So it's like also you can see it's like clinical trial, or it's like meta-analysis, it's like case report. So it should be attract the entire. So what's the red flags? Empty phrase, use of abbreviations, overstating importance, abstract results do not align with the paper findings. The next step is introduction. So introduction should have full definition or a very brief definition. It should also define the knowledge gap, justify the study, and precisely define the primary and secondary objective and also aim of the study. So what should we expect from introduction is definitions. What's the knowledge gap? What was done? What is missing? And what you propose and what's your aim? The red flags for the issue is the failure to clear state the research question, too many unclassified objectives, excessive background literature. Sometimes you can see the background can be two page, 3 page. So usually it's supposed to be like 500, 600 words. The next methods. Methods is very important because most of the people get rejected because of methods. If methodology is not good, that's the fair. So what we expect from methods, provide enough detail for replication, logical sequence. We have to look at what's the study population, design, what was the confounders, what was the primary endpoint, secondary endpoint, statistical analysis. Yes, some of us, we may have weak statistical knowledge, but you can miss the statistics if you don't have expertise. You can look at the different part, you can look at the findings, you can look at the different, but if you are good in statistics, you can always comment independently what kind of manuscript. What's the red flag for the methods? Inadequate control group, lack of sample size, calculation, high risk of bias, missing ethics, consent statement. The next part is the results. So the core purpose of the result is the presenting findings objectively with uncertain measurements. So follow order and methods. So result part also have different, so how authors provided results, how they interpret the tables and figures. Of course, the knowledge of the statistical analysis and the data interpretation and data presentation will help you to also compare. What's the red flag for results? Discussing. So they should not discuss the results inside the section results because we have separate section discussion when you can discuss. You should just interpret, so author should interpret only main findings and which is important. So otherwise you can make comments. The another part is the discussion and conclusion. So the discussion should have the interpretation of findings. Usually the first part of discussion is the main findings of the study. Then you can look at the how they compare the main findings with other literature, how they do. Others also mention the limitations, formulate conclusive, and they have concluded the manuscript. What's the red flag for discussion? Speculating beyond the data, omitting contradictory evidence from other studies, failing to highlight study limitation. So you can write or test comments for discussion and conclusion section. Reference also important, but again, you are not, the most of the reference can be checked by the copy editor, so you don't need to check all reference. But if you are interested in some reference, of course you can check. Tables, figures are very important. They're supposed to be good in good vision, and they're supposed to be logical, because figures, sometimes authors can put the entire statistical output as a figures. So if you know a little bit statistics, you can suggest to provide more clear vision how to figures and tables supposed to be organized. So what's the red flag for the tables and figures? Citing conference abstract when full article exists, duplicating text, data in table that cannot be understood independently. So as soon as you review all part of your assigned manuscript, then the first part is a summary, 4 paragraph. You can demonstrate your understanding in research, describe basic characteristics and the novelty, highlight novelty. It is usually like green part. So you can say, oh, this work was done by by the authors, they do that, their main findings was that. Then the second part, you can list issues. So you can divide issues for the major and minor issues. I will tell when we can say major and minor. And then the third part usually is a confidential comment for the editor. You can write confidential comments for editor. So when we can write major issue and minor issue. So definition of the major issue is the essential points that affect the validity or safety of research. So if you can see there is the major issues, so that's supposed to be fixed. You can write major issues. So actually the major revision is one of the high risk of rejection. So as soon as you make major revision, that means the manuscript needs significant change and then requires the second round of evaluation after revision. So the example of the issues for the major revision is methodological flaw, inappropriate statistical analysis, conclusion not derived from the results. So you can put the minor revision is defined by the format, structure, or clarity problems that then do not affect the key conclusion. So usually minor revision, they do not typically require second round sometimes, but you can request also to see again after the minor revision. So what's the examples? Ambitious phrasing, overly long paraphrase, spelling errors, and missing. So what's the rejection? Rejection, if you can see the manuscript supposed to be significantly changed, but significant change is not possible, not doable. Of course, then you can write your comments and reject the manuscript. Again, the final decision will be done by the editor. So then we have to make special write confidential writing for editor. So the final verdict, so we can suggest, accept, reject, or make changes for the editor. But again, we have to also give the ethical suspicions and reviewer limitations. For example, if you see as a reviewer, you can see that authors use AI, artificial intelligence. You can also should write not for the authors, probably for the editor. But you do not allow to upload your entire manuscript to do AI app. It's not allowed. Also, the crucial rule: never include your common recommendation as accept reject into the comment to the authors. So it's supposed to be done by it's privilege of the editors. So if we conclude this part, so we have to be also polite for the authors. So we have to be objective, constructive. So we will give one paragraph of summary of the study, and then we list the major concerns and minor concerns, and then we will write the confidential letter to the editor. So what's the common pitfalls? So the empty phrase writing like great paper with no comments. Do not do that because editors need actionable critique, not applause. So you have to write our comments. Do not be copy editor. Sometimes you can see authors just trying to fix the spelling mistakes. No, we don't. You can say something, but again, the mostly we have usually journals they have copy editors. The ghost, so accepting invitation and you are not replying again, so you are lost. It's unacceptable. This is the unacceptable because it will delay the damage journal's reputation. Decline promptly busy if you just decline if you are busy, because I have one paper submitted to the journal, and this is the 1.5 year we're still waiting the second revision. So I think this is because of the reviewers, not because of the editors. And then very important to be very kind in your comments. Don't use sarcastic language. And then we should not be self-promoter. Sometimes you can see reviewers try to link their own research to be cited. So we have to avoid this because it can be lose your reputation. So the ethics is very important. So we should not. It's very important to keep the confidentiality because it is the unpublished manuscript. So we should not ask them cite or reference, and then we should declare our conflict of interest if we can see there is a conflict of interest. So sometimes you should not accept when you are unqualified. Just decline immediately if you are not in this expertise. For example, you are a nephrologist, but you get something from out of your expertise. Ignoring deadlines. So please, if you are not on time, you can ask for extension. And then don't write needs improvement. If you write only this sentence, you have to provide exact what should supposed to be improved. And then you should not ask something is out of the methodology. For example, you cannot ask something people doesn't methodological what not provided in this, and also do not proofread. So as soon as you motivated to be reviewer, so how you can start from the small. So you can target the good but not top tier journals like regional journals from your country or any other new journals. They're always seeking for reviewers. Also, you can ask your PI or your senior supervisors or senior colleagues who are already like reviewer. They can also suggest yourself to different journals. Also, many journals, they have joined as a reviewer, so you can also join. And then you can also have some publisher training. So if you are interested to become a reviewer, so you can subscribe to our journal. So we have different type of like more high ranking journals, which is a Q2 in Scopus and Q3 in Scopus, and also new journals. So we can help you to assign as a reviewer, and if need, we can teach and we can lead you and guide you how to revise. So I just want to say that Australasia Publishing Group, we have already launched 6 journals, and another 2 journals is going to be launched soon. You can go and I want to give one example, like or one of our journals which launched last year. So we have already published more around 30 papers, and you can see we have started to get citation in Scopus, citation in Web of Science, and equal citation in Google Scholar. So as a reviewer, you can get certificate of, as soon as you complete your review process, you can get a certificate of appreciation about your review contribution. Thank you very much. This is like central message. So if you have any questions, I think we can proceed to the Q&A session.